This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe from hackers. For example, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries, streaming services such as DAZN in Spain for those all-important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe if you use public Wi-Fi, such as a college or a cafe. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning that you can even share an account with friends and family. On top of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can even get your money back. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for just over €2 per month and up to 4 months free. Why not scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to take advantage of this offer. What is up, my friends? How are we? You are very welcome along to Wednesday night's late night agenda, where as always we're here to talk about the major talking points around Liverpool Football Club. We'll be discussing SEMENYO. Of course, we'll be chatting about the Mohamed Salah situation. We'll be trying to pick the bones out of that win last night and what positives we can take from it moving forward. Of course, we'll have a little look ahead to the game coming up at the weekend against Brighton and Hove Albion as well. But as always, I hope you've had a wonderful day so far. Thank you so much for coming in to join me. And yeah, the floor is yours. To kick us off tonight, we have a poll in the chat at the minute, and we're just asking, do you think that Mohamed Salah will play for Liverpool again after the Brighton and Hove Albion game? I really don't know where this situation leads to. We all want everything to be amicable. We all want, the Reds to get back to winning ways and everyone to be happy, but I really don't know how this one pans out or plays out, so I'm interested to know exactly what you guys are thinking. And also last night, look, it was a very, very welcome victory. Of course it was, away against Inter Milan. But, it wasn't perfect. So hopefully we can build on that, because, I've seen a lot of the reporting around the result last night. And it's pretty clear an agenda that's being pushed, and especially from the likes of Jamie Carragher, coming out with things like that win showed the players are 100% behind the manager. It was a touch and go game that we won. I mean, the players should be playing for the badge regardless, but it's very similar to some of the narratives that we've seen pushing. They're almost trying to undermine Salah relentlessly at this point. Now, I'm not saying the players aren't playing for the manager, but, they should be. They should be playing for the badge. And I just, again, I feel like there are some underhanded tactics at play here. And Carragher is just coming across extremely petty and bitter about the whole situation. That's my take on it anyway. But look, ultimately, I'm delighted we won. It gives us a chance to get into that top 8 place in the Champions League and give ourselves 2 less games. We don't want that playoff round. But also, I'm interested to know what you guys think about the weekend and the formation. Are we going to see that 4-4-2 diamond again? Because it has its pros and cons, and we'll talk about that tonight as well. Nick Kingdom said, not because of what he said, it was a done deal anyway. He's going to Saudi Pro League and will personally benefit and eclipse FSG's asking price. So there was something I mentioned in the video earlier on, a take from Henry Winter that, a lot of it's sensible, but some of it I just strongly disagree with. And I want to read out what Henry Winter said and tell you where I am with it. So Henry writes, and look, an outstanding journalist, Henry Winter, he writes, hard to see how Mo Salah can stay at Liverpool. January break, best for all concerned. One of Liverpool's greatest ever players is frustrated, and the realisation that he's not a starter under Arne Slot. His form doesn't warrant a place. His work out of possession doesn't warrant a place, and he's 33. Liverpool rightly back their head coach. The alternative is anarchy. Now, I want to just stop there for a second, because that is the only play here. Even if you are Mohamed Salah's biggest fan, the only play for a football club is to back the manager in these situations. Whatever we think of Slot or anything else, that is the right decision. That is the right way to go for the club. Henry goes on to say, it makes sense if Salah gets a farewell against Brighton. Salute to a club legend. He does a moving parting message via the club media, reflecting on what the club has done for him as well as what he for them. Liverpool always in his heart, etc. Plays the AFCON, goes to Saudi in January, good salary, good preparation for the World Cup, not too taxing. Liverpool not in a strong position over a fee. How much competition amongst potential suitors will there be because of his wages? Obvious breakdown in his relationship with the club. But this is where I strongly disagree with Henry. He said even a £10 million fee gets his reported salary back since August, and Liverpool will save £30 million on the remaining 18 months of his contract, plus the potential dividend the new boy settling in quicker without Salah's large shadow. He has to go, but it should be done respectfully. Salah's phenomenal deeds are in Liverpool history books, but every chapter comes to an end. So the part that I would disagree with Mr. Winter on there is, Liverpool aren't in a weak position to negotiate a fee. Not by any stretch, not in my mind anyway. Because if Mohamed Salah wants out, and if Saudi want him, then Liverpool are going to have a number. And if that number isn't met, I'm sure that it will publicly say they're happy to keep him. We shouldn't be taking paltry amounts of money just to get Salah's wages off the books. If anybody wants to buy Salah, I'm sure, I don't know what the number is, but I'm sure there is a number. And it will help the club financially going forward if he's moved on. There's no denying that. But it all just feels a little bit strange. I thought Stephen Gerrard spoke pretty well on it, actually. I've seen a clip of a round table on TNT Sports that he was doing with the likes of McManaman and stuff. And this is some of what Stephen Gerrard had to say. He's obviously really upset he's not playing, which I respect. He wants to help the team, which I respect. A couple of lines about throwing people under the bus. Wrong. He needs to deal that with the manager. At the end of the day, Liverpool Football Club need Mo Salah back playing well, back scoring goals, because he is the best player, best scorer, and he'll help them get out of this. And I don't disagree with Stevie on that. Some of the stuff Mo said, is out of frustration. But he does need to apologise to the manager. Whatever way it is, he has to. There is no way back if he doesn't apologise to the manager. Because whatever way we think about this, he did speak out of turn. He did speak out of class. And, we can say that he did it out of frustration, and that's okay. It happens. Gerrard gave a good example of the Luis Suarez situation. So every relationship between a football club, a player and a manager, it's salvageable on one condition, that people drop their egos. That's important in this. Everybody has to have a bit of humility here if the desire really is to reintegrate Mo back in. And that's what I hope for as a fan, but I don't think it's what's going to happen. So for me, I do think Salah moves on and Brighton will potentially be his last game for us. But I do hope it's done respectfully on all sides, because it will break my heart and it will break many Liverpool fans' hearts if this relationship ends up with a negative outcome. It shouldn't be that way. Not for somebody that served the club as well. So, Hartley here. Once again, you've just proved why I get so annoyed with people. So you've come and said, not one Liverpool fan here. Going against You'll Never Walk Alone makes me sick that people, traitors, and turn their back on him. Mate, people have an opinion. People have an opinion, and nobody's turned their back on him. Liverpool fans didn't come out with the statement. Liverpool fans haven't done anything other than be supportive to everybody. So for you to come in to call people traitors, you're just another arsehole. You've offered nothing by way of an objective opinion. You're just another dickhead that wants to come in to shit all over people. And quite frankly, I'm getting bored of you and these type of people coming in. You aren't better than me. You aren't better than others. Nor are we better than you. So stop thinking that you get to speak as the moral authority for Liverpool fans all around the world. Everybody has a different take on it. And if you were a Liverpool fan, really, you'd want the situation resolved. Not to pick a side, draw the line, and just be bitter about it. There is only one side in this. The football club. Liverpool Football Club. It's bigger than anyone. Salah or Slaw. And what's best for the football club should always be what comes first. Simple as that. And that is it. All of our lives, we're going to see players come and go. We're going to love them, we're going to miss them, we're going to feel frustrated. But ultimately, the health of the football club, the reputation of the football club, is the most important thing. And nobody can be seen to be undermining that. It's that simple, like. Elstew said, Salah spoke against the club, not Slot. Slot is only 6 months into a project where the aim is to sign players for nearly every position. Look, let's be fair about it, Elstew. He did speak about the manager. He might not have used the name Slot, but when he's talking about being dropped and others not being held to account and stuff, I think it's fair to say that he is speaking against the manager. But there was a lot of stuff that Mohamed Salah didn't say that I think would need clarification. So what promises were made? What promises have been broken? Like I keep trying to say, there isn't a winner in this. There isn't a winner because the club doesn't come across smelling the roses here, and I don't like our club being in this position. Dare I say it, nobody does. None of us want this. None of us want in-house infighting. We just want the team to be successful on the pitch. Biffa, how are you, bro? Evening, Craig. Who would you take as a manager at the Mo? There's probably 5-6 names that I would at least think have some sensibility to it, but each and every one still has a drawback. Like, I couldn't say that there's anybody jumping off the page to me right now as the obvious standout candidate if Arna was to lose his job. And what makes me laugh is, and this isn't aimed at you, the amount of people who say to me, but you said you wanted Slot sacked, and now you're celebrating a win. Of course I'm celebrating a win. I'm a Liverpool fan. I want the team to win. I'll never want a negative result to force someone out. I'm delighted we won. And I'll always will be. Because my own opinion of what I like and don't like, the football club results comes above all of that. Stargirl said, Gerrard, only adult talking sense, interim manager. Look, Arna still has a job at the minute. And it's hard to know what to take from last night's game because it was a good performance, but it wasn't great. Ultimately it came down to a penalty at the end that got us the win. And the win's very welcome. Of course the win's welcome, but, there's still more to come here. And he hasn't gotten out of the woods just yet. But if he does keep winning, great. Again, that's what we all want. I'll never want Liverpool to go backwards just because I don't think the manager's right for the job. I still want the club to do well. Uh, 60s Red, how are you, mate? So, g'day, Craig. How's the Hughes and Edwards agenda going to sell Mo? Well, that's where my head's at with it. Like I said, everybody will have their own opinions, but for me, I do think this is probably something that Edwards, at the very least, is not upset about, the possibility of selling him. But it's very hard for us fans to know the real outcome here because we have a severe lack of width in the team. But ironically, I think last night and that formation gave us a glimpse of what's possible. Because we don't need to have wide players if we play in a slightly different system. They're welcome, but last night showed that there are pitfalls and there are advantages to every system. So last night what we seen was a team that was more solid through the middle, but was lacking in some attacking spaces in the wide areas at times, and you could see how advanced Gomez was. But with the personnel that we have now, so like let's look at it realistically for the Brighton game. Gakpo's injured. Chiesa, well, we know the manager's stance with Chiesa. He hasn't played him. So the only real winger we're going to have is Salah and young Rio. And this will be Salah's last game then before he heads off. And we still don't know if Salah's going to be back in the matchday squad. But last night, I think, especially after Wirtz and Bradley came on, it gave us a glimpse at what could be possible in the future. And I've been an advocate for looking towards the future for a month or so now. And I do think, there are still people that need to up their game, and Alexander Isak is one of them. But we need to be looking to that future. And Conor Bradley, unfortunately, suspended for the weekend, so we won't be able to play him. So I think we'll have Joe Gomez back in there. But look, that's where my head's at. Baby steps, a very welcome win away to San Siro. But it wasn't a great performance. Like the way some of the media have been writing about it, you would think they went over there and beat an all-conquering Inter Milan side. It was a decent away performance, and thankfully we got the win, which we're happy with. Holzer said, people with such cut and dry opinions over situations like these are annoying. There's nuance to business, especially when the business includes team results, individual egos, and a bottom line involved. I'm glad you said that, mate, and thank you. Because the amount of people who are like, you said this yesterday, how can you then say this today? And like you said, there is huge nuances in this. And I think it's natural that our opinions vary, as more and more information comes to light. I want to show you guys something though. So the way I told you guys that we sponsored a local side. Well, they gave me a shirt today as a thank you. So it looks so cool to have the Anfield Agenda logo on the front of a shirt. So yeah, it was lovely. I got to go down today, and we had a photo, and we met with the team and the manager, and we also committed to buying a second kit for another one of the underage sides after Christmas. And we're only able to do these things because of your support. That helps the channel grow. So, in your name, we're also going to be sponsoring another one of the underage sides after Christmas. And thank you for allowing us to do this. And like I said in our WhatsApp, we'll always do our best to try to represent you positively, especially in the community. So thank you for all of your support that allows us to do these things. Blue, yes, mate. I don't get to dictate the colours of football clubs. It's blue and black, mate. Fuck me. Like, find something to be more petty about. Hussan, how are you, mate? Or Hussam said, Craig, do you think the dressing room's divided? I do, yeah, I do. But let's be honest, they didn't down tools last night, and that means a lot to me. They did put in a good shift there last night. They really did. It wasn't a free-flowing great performance, but the effort and work rate was there to some extent. But it was still, it was still boring. If we're being blunt, it was boring. But that's okay. Away from home in Europe, sometimes I'll accept a bit of boring if it gets a result. And under Rafa, we had many a boring result in Europe, but an effective one away from home. I was a Liverpool fan since 1969. Craig, somebody from your brilliant platform tell me, what was the reason Mo deleted some of the items from the social media account about 6 weeks ago? Honestly, I don't know, mate. I don't know. But it's never a good look when that happens, is it? It's and look, Mo won't be the last to do that. It happens at all football clubs, and I don't like it. But if we think back, like, remember some of the younger players who were leaving were even blacking out their profile pictures and stuff. Something just doesn't smell right behind the scenes at the club at the minute. And I don't know where to point the finger. But yeah, it doesn't feel harmonious at the minute. Hi Craig, is there a sign up Cortown FC club? There will be. Yeah, they received the sign today. Yeah, there will be. Our sign will be around the pitch with a QR code and stuff, which is quite cool. Which was part of the sponsorship package that we took out with the club. But it was lovely just to see tonight. I remember being a young kid playing football. Whenever you got a new kit sponsored, it was so cool because you feel like somebody gives a shit. And football was very good to me and the people that helped me through the years as coaches and teammates. And it's only right we want to give a little bit back. I do not want Alonso. Would rather wait for Enrique, said Corbyn. Look, you're not the first, mate, to say they would have doubts about Xabi Alonso. And I was in our Discord group earlier on when the first half of that game was still on. And I think it was Danny in there said that they don't even look like they have a style, that Madrid team, which is true. It just looks like a group of individuals out there. So I would have some reservations about it, but I would also say that I don't think Alonso's getting the buy-in from a lot of those Real Madrid players that you would hope he would get. So I do think he's been undermined somewhat there. Paul Owen said, I think the team did well, but is that because of the Salah stuff or a show of intent to say we're all together? I like to think of it like this. They just have pride in wearing the shirt. You know, I don't want to think about it as a statement of anything other than they're fighting for the badge. Some people will say they're fighting for the manager. Some people will say they were proving a point about Mo. I don't know. But I'm just happy that they put in a shift for the jersey. And whatever the reason for that is, cool. Because I'm just glad to see it. You know, I'm glad to see a bit of fight in there. Which we've seen against Leeds as well. But, you know, unfortunately at the end, we capitulated there. Any news on the build? It's stopped. It's completely come to a stop for the minute. I can't go into the details. It's just a mental situation. I explained it in our Discord last night. But it should be picked back up in a couple of weeks. And it's not much left to do. It's about a week's worth of work left. So, yeah, it won't impact things too much. James said, hey, Craig, after last night, what positions do we need to be strong in going forward? 1000% we need a DM. 1000%. So the more I've sat and thought about this over the last few weeks, and of course the more we've interacted and chatted about it on here with each other, I think I might have, my priority list might be changing a little bit. Centre back's still number one priority for me. But I would say a DM now, in my opinion, overrides the need for a winger. But we don't really seem to be, at least publicly, linked with too many DMs. There's been some stuff with Ederson from Atalanta, some spurious links to the likes of Evelia Anderson and Adam Wharton for the summer. But I really do think we're too soft in the middle of the park. And whether it's Maka or Gravenberch, let me ask you this. How did Ryan Gravenberch get man of the match last night? I must have been watching a different game. And so must you guys have been, because you voted for the man of the match in here. And it was overwhelmingly Szoboszlai. And for me, it was a toss-up between Szoboszlai and Jones for man of the match. So I don't know who was watching what or how Gravenberch got man of the match, but not for me. You know, I still think we're way too soft in the middle of the pitch. Corbin said, I'm 100% certain I do not want him in our dressing room. We need one of the best managers in the world. Enrique is probably top 5, if not top 3. Right, but Enrique is also in a job. Like, I'm not trying to argue with you over Enrique, because Enrique's a brilliant coach. But he's a brilliant coach in a club that he seems quite settled in at the minute, and a club who are the defending European champions. So, yeah, I don't see us being able to get him out of that job anytime soon. But if he comes up in the future and he fancies a spell in the Premier League and the Liverpool job is available, then absolutely no problem with that. He's a great coach. And seems like a good fella as well. There aren't many DMs ready to go for, said Keane. Hi Craig, what do you think if Real Madrid lose tonight? Alonso sacked, I think Ritchie's slot suddenly gone. I really don't know. Yeah, it's a fair question. I really don't know how it pans out. But I've seen mixed reviews today on the Alonso situation. So I read this earlier on from Dario AS, Madrid's own posted it. And it said, unless a crisis happens, Xabi Alonso will continue as Real Madrid's manager until the Supercopa in January. The club views the competition as a test. Now, I don't know where they got that from or how true that is, because I very much doubt that they don't view the league as a test and the Champions League as a test. But the Supercopa is somehow, you know, the test. Just, I don't know, it just sounds a bit bullshitty to me. Andrew Webb, how are we, sir? Hope you're well. Hey, Craig. Personally, think Slot and Salah should be sat in a room and settle it like men. Do you think Slot doesn't like playing youth? Look at Rio's treatment. So let's break down bit by bit, and we'll start with the first one. They have to sit in a room together. You all know what happens in life. If you fall out with somebody, and you're interacting with them over messages or on social media or anything like that, it's always a bit more bitter. It's always a bit more aggressive. But if you see somebody and look in their eyes, it humanizes the person. And that's what needs to happen here, Andrew. They need to sit down and look, maybe both say things the other doesn't like. Maybe both get wound up at times and it gets a bit heated. But it's the only way to solve it, if you really want to solve it. And I don't mean sitting in there with agents and all this bollocks. Just a manager, maybe Richard Hughes, and Mo Salah sitting in there having an honest conversation. How do we move this forward? Can we move this forward? If we can't move it forward, what way is best to solve the situation? Where's your head at? Where's your head at? The manager, is there a way back for Mo? These are simple things, but it needs to happen like that, and not played out on social media or, with leaks to the press and stuff like that. It just needs to be honest. And the second part, the youth players, it's a difficult balancing act when you've got pressure on your job and your team's not performing well. To then start to throw youth players in the mix, it's difficult, because then if those youth players don't perform, it's a dent on the manager and it's a dent to their confidence. Now, I would say I wish I'd seen more of Rio and Gamoa so far this season because of the line that was being trotted out to all of us, which is that we didn't sign a replacement because we didn't want to block the pathway for the youngster. But does that mean we're going to write off a whole season? Because Arna's not playing him. That's not your decision, Andrew. That's not my decision. That's down to the manager, and obviously a mixture of him not thinking that Rio's ready, and the pressure he's under. So, yeah, it's really tough to say whether he's good at bringing through young players or not. But I can't think of one. Yeah, I can't really think of one that he's brought through and progressed since he's been at the club. And that's, again, not me trying to knock Arna. It's just an honest answer. I can't think of one. While we're talking about young players, though, I want to just, unfortunately, give a bit of bad news. Craig Houlden is set to spend another spell on the sidelines, and this young man just can't catch a break. So the 21-year-old's taken to social media to confirm he's torn his meniscus and will be out for some time. He just can't catch a break, Craig Houlden. Really, really unfortunate. And obviously wish him a speedy recovery. Rio should be loaned out in January then. It'd be a waste of his development if we don't. Yeah, it is a weird situation because, they're saying he can't play for the underage team because that would take him out from the senior setup for 3 days with training and recovery and stuff. But playing no football is no good for him either. No matter how much he's training with the first team players, if he's not getting repetitive minutes, it's no good for anybody. So I agree. If we can't give him regular minutes, I think a loan is a sensible option. Tongpo, how are we, sir? Craig, Angelo Stiller from Stuttgart will get the best out of Wirtz if we go for DM. Certainly a name that was spoken about in the summer. If my memory serves me, somebody told me that he had a knee injury or something that kept him out for the latter part of last season. I remember his name being loosely linked with Real Madrid as well. But yeah, Angelo Stiller is certainly a name the club know about and will have, I'm sure, had a look at. But whether it leads to something or not, I really don't know, mate. I don't know. Shakur White said, "Hey Craig, apologies for not being on the stream for a long time. I've been fighting a flu." Well, I hope you're well, mate. I know there's been a terrible dose going around. So many people I know have been struggling to shake colds and flus that they've had. Why so many ads? Look, let me ask you this, mate. What do you want from me? Let me put it that way to you. Without trying to be an asshole. What do you want from me? On the only Liverpool channel that's established and big, that's free. Red Men, paywall. Anfield Rap, paywall. All of our content is free. And if you have to watch a few ads because you can't afford YouTube Premium or something, I can't do anything about that, mate. But it's been a miracle that we've been able to keep this channel free, everything free, through the support you give us as members, and of course through ads. It's as simple as that, bro. You come to a tipping point in your channel's growth where you do have to make that decision. Do we go down the paywall route and maybe limit growth? Or do you try to keep the lights on, keep it free, and hope that you get that tipping point where you can generate enough that you can keep the lights on? And we chose the option of of just trying to keep it all free. So yeah, apologies if ads come up, and because I get it, I do get it, of course I do. But I'm just trying to explain to you as honestly as I can why, because we promised from day one we'd never go behind the paywall. All good, mate. All good. I appreciate you commenting back in the chat in such a kind way. Appreciate you. Thank you. And like I said, I do apologise if it becomes a little bit much at times. It's a tough balancing act. There's a good show. Well, the ads are on. Just read the other comments. That's a good show. I must do that myself on social media or on some of the videos I watch. Right. Anyway, I want to read through some of what one of my favorite things to do after we play a game of football the next day. The Echo, and see, this is the difference between me and the Echo. By the way, I will credit them for good stuff, and I'll call them out for the stuff I think they get wrong. But we don't exist in their eyes. But I want to read out one of my favourite things that they do, which is go through a lot of the media and get the written journalists take the day after a game. So I'm going to read you through some of what the written media have said about Liverpool's win last night. And this is from Rich Jolly of the Independent. A penalty to win at the San Siro. Perhaps Mohamed Salah, wherever he was watching, reflected that he could have been taking it. Instead, with the Egyptian in exile, it was Dominic Szoboszlai who first took the spot kick on the right wing, first took his role on the right wing, and now his role as the spot kick specialist, who dispatched it brilliantly, despite my stupidity. And again, I apologise for that last night. I don't know how my brain said saved when the penalty went in. I think I must have been just so fearful and so used to shit not going our way lately that subconsciously, even though I seen the ball hitting the net, I said saved. Anyway, he said, and this was a brilliant win for Arne Slot. A brilliant night for Liverpool. Salah missed the chance to secure a famous victory because what started out as a calm after the storm and a quietly ordered performance became something more. Liverpool have beaten Arsenal and Real Madrid, but the context made this their best result of the season. Generous as the award of the penalty was, it produced an endorsement of a beleaguered manager. Slot showed he could win in Milan without Salah, without a host of others too. His name echoed from the top tiers of one of Europe's greatest grounds. Chanted by the Liverpool supporters in a week where Slot has been tested, he emerged triumphant and popular. So this is one take of what I'm saying about a bit of an over-glorification of Slot that I'm now seeing in the media. And it's really clear that this has been over-egged. It was a good win, but make no mistake about it, it was an even game and we got a bit of the rub of the green with a penalty. So yes, Slot got a tune out of the players, but some of the writing is just exaggerated again. This from Andy Hunter of The Guardian said Slot needed at the bare minimum a committed display from his team to counter allegations that Salah's criticisms are shared by others in the dressing room. He got commitment and much more. The visitors produced a vastly improved defensive performance and worked tirelessly to stifle a dangerous Inter team that have reached two of the past Champions League finals. A deserved point appeared to be Liverpool's reward until the video assistant referee sent the German official to the pitchside monitor to review Bastoni's infringement. Szoboszlai swept his spot kick high into Jan Sommer's top corner and Inter's 18-match unbeaten home win in Europe was over. The release for Liverpool was palpable. It all sounds a little bit too fairy tale-y. And again, where's the credit to the players? It's all about Slot. All of these articles are balanced on Slot and Salah, Slot and Salah. I don't see enough real credit for the actual players. And Mike McGrath, the Telegraph, writes, Arne Slot walked over to the Liverpool fans after the final whistle and saluted those in the top tier at the San Siro. They had chanted the Dutchman's name during this famous European win, which he masterminded in the fallout of the row with Mohamed Salah that threatened to rip the club apart. There is a complex dynamic between supporters, manager and the greatest goalscorer since Ian Rush, and one which has more twists in the next few days when the final game is played before Salah travels to the AFCON. But this night belonged to Slot. After keeping last year's Champions League finalists quiet, there was a winning penalty from Dominic Szoboszlai, which was more than deserved after a mature performance in Milan. Ian Lewis Steele of the Mail writes, for 88 minutes in truth there was little to write home about on the postcard sent back to Salah, and the Egyptian can still take solace from his sofa knowing that unlike the title of the 1971 James Bond film and accompanying Shirley Bassey soundtrack, diamonds are not forever. If they were, there might be no space for a right winger no matter what way he plays. That is because Slot has evolved his setup from the tried and tested way that won them the Premier League, and though a 4-4-2 diamond has thus far failed to sparkle in an attacking sense, it made them more solid, and defensive foundations were the best part of this win. That I agree with. We were more solid, but some of the language just seems a bit exaggerated. You know, of course the fans are going to cheer Arne's name. They'd cheer Salah's name as well if he was there. So they're trying to push a narrative that I don't believe is actually the case. You know, I'm lucky enough to know many Liverpool fans, season ticket holders, non-season ticket holders, and the way the media have been writing about Slot, it's as if there's an unequivocal support of the manager blindly by everyone, and that there are no doubts whatsoever. There are. Make no mistake about it. Liverpool fans are not won over by Arne Slot yet. Winning the league title was incredible. But this season's been a shit show. And a win is welcome. But some of the over-glorification of that is just pandering. James said, hi Craig, the players lately never get told by the media how great they're doing, but all love for Slot. Exactly. And that's the point I've been trying to make, mate. This is very clearly an agenda in one direction. And the focus should be on the players. Because, you know, they went out there and they put in the shift. But I'm happy. As I said, I'm happy for the win. Ollie said, forcefully engineered chance, by the way. It was pretty quiet compared to when we normally hear. And it was half-arsed chance. Look, they're always going to be supportive of it. You know? They're going to support the manager. And I guarantee if Salah played, they'd have sang his name. They sang Darwin's name. They're just great fans. It's as simple as that. You know, the Travelling Cop are brilliant and are supportive of everyone. And, you know, that's why our club don't boo during games, Trent issue aside. But it doesn't mean that they weren't really frustrated with that Forest loss, with that PSV Eindhoven loss. They really were. Mark Doherty, how are you, Mark? Said last night's performance reminded me a lot of our performance last season. Not outstanding and could have went either way, just papering over the cracks. That's how I feel about it as well. You know, it's a welcome win, but I've not seen the turning of the tide or anything like it yet. And there's a lot more to be done. Right, let's have a look-see. So, we asked, do you think Salah plays again for Liverpool after Brighton? So, if you haven't voted on that one, please do. When it gets to 2,000 votes, we'll knock it on the head. But we just want to know, do you think he plays again for Liverpool after the Brighton game? Unai Emery, by the way, has been speaking and he's categorically made it clear now that they will not be buying Harvey Elliott. And I feel so bad for the young lad. So we said he's on loan playing with us, but he is not definitely adding to us a permanent contract. So, you know, Unai Emery, pretty straightforward there in saying that they won't be signing Harvey on a free. Which is shocking, you know, because now we know that he's not going to get whatever the number of games were to trigger it which I believe some people think is 10. So what do you do? The only options for Harvey Elliott are come back to Liverpool, where he'd have to be part of the team, stay at Villa and sit on the bench for the season, or move to a league that is on a different calendar to the Premier League. And that's not my theory. That's the only way you could do it. So Saudi, MLS, they're the only options, because he can't play for another team in a league that has the same calendar as the Premier League, because he's played for 2 teams already this season. So it's just really, really just shit for Harvey Elliott. El Stew said, you have to understand, a fan in a stadium is paid a lot of money and will react depending on result. I don't get what your point is there, though. You can say, all I can say is the cop cheer slot and always fans do. Mate, I know dozens of season ticket holders, and I can tell you categorically that the majority of them want slot out. Doesn't mean they're not going to support him during a match, because they will. But, you know, there will be people in the chat who are season ticket holders or are scousers and will tell you. There isn't this overriding support of the manager like they would like us to believe. It doesn't exist. And I know so many people who would say to me, even in and around him inside Anfield, there was huge anger at the 4-1 loss, at the 3-0 loss. You know, that's just a fact, mate. It just is. If Harvey came back, could he play in Mo's position? Yes, he could. He could come back and play for Liverpool. Now, look, I'd rather Harvey come back to Liverpool than sit on Aston Villa's bench. He's another option for the manager. Yeah, and I feel like we also have a duty of responsibility to Harvey, because, you know, he made a move to a club that are just throwing him out to dry. And, you know, the kid needs to play footy. So I'd rather Liverpool brought him back and, you know, hopefully gave him some minutes for us between now and the end of the season. Like, he's another very credible option. Don Bosco said, is it possible for Slot to turn things around? Of course. You know, a few people have said to me, Craig, is there a way for Slot to win you back over? And yes. Like, I'm a big believer that nothing should ever be forever. You know, if a manager shows that he can really get these lads moving in the right direction and getting us back where we should be with the talent we have, of course. I just don't think it will happen. I think we will still have some poor performances in us. I'm really intrigued to see what happens against Brighton, because in my head, what is usually our strength, Anfield, the crowd, that performance, feeding off each other, it's been one that's had a lot of anxiety recently. You know, with the performances that we've had. So I'm intrigued to see how it is on Saturday, and I hope it is positive, aggressive, and everyone's up for it, because, you know, we need to get back winning at Anfield. We really, really do. Do you know what's crazy? I was looking at the results we've had in the Champions League this year. Make this make sense. Please make this make sense. You beat Frankfurt 5-1. You beat Real Madrid. You beat Atletico Madrid. You beat Inter Milan away. And somehow we lose to Galatasaray and PSV Eindhoven. Make that make sense. I mean, both Madrid sides beaten. Inter Milan beaten away. Stuttgart whooped away. And somehow we lose to Galatasaray and get whooped 4-1 at home by PSV Eindhoven. That, I can't get my head around that. That is so weird for a run of games. Like, now beat all the big boys and then come unstuck against a bang average Galatasaray team and a decent PSV Eindhoven team at Anfield. It is mad. That just bonkers. And that kind of made me smile today as I was just looking back through the results going, that's so strange. Villa and Arsenal beaten 2 with losses to Brentford and Forest. Yeah, it's just so weird this season. It's like we're not doing the easy part, but we're winning the harder games. It's a bit nuts. Raekwon, how are we, bro? Nice to see you. Slot comes across as an FSD and Richard Hughes puppet. Why is Hughes/Michael Edwards involved in the benching of a player? We don't know that they are. We don't, Raekwon. But I'm with you. I think that Hughes and Edwards' fingerprints are all over this situation, personally. Because there has been selective accountability. And like I've said, I called for the manager to bench Salah. Many people did. But to do it 3 games in a row and keep rewarding Kanade and Gakpo and others who aren't being held to anywhere near the same standards, that should at the very least intrigue people or spark a conversation. Because it's a bit like overcompensating. Right, we're nearly there. We need about 100 more votes. So if you can, folks, please do vote in this one. We're asking, do you think Salah plays again for Liverpool after the Brighton game? Then there's Cara making it worse. I'm glad you brought up Cara, because I have to say, I find this has gotten very personal for Cara, and he's coming across, for me, very over the top and bitter. I'm a huge fan of Carragher as a pundit when he isn't talking about Liverpool. It feels like there's just something between those two that it's playing out, and it's just silly. And when Cara came out and said, I've never wanted Liverpool to win a game more, come on you red men, posting and quoting the Salah training clip, it just felt so silly. It just felt so fucking childish. Yeah, I don't like it. It just, I think he should just tone it down a little bit. Look, he's paid to give his opinions, but I just don't think those opinions are helping anybody. And he's also talking a lot of shit to camera. Like he said, he's never criticised Mo. And then it was pointed out to him that he did. And then he said, but I've never criticised them, not running back and defending. But he absolutely has. He absolutely has. And he knows he has. I just don't think it benefits anybody. It just feels silly. Do the players perform when more eyes are on them? Yeah, I don't know, maybe. It is weird. Like I said, some of the games you'd think we'd be winning, we're just not at the races. And then other games where you're worried about it, perhaps we're showing up and playing well. So what do you guys think on the Cara situation? I mean, I really would genuinely like to know where your heads are at with it. Let me read through some of these then. I read that it was the board that took the decision to bench Mo. That was for the Inter game. It was the board and the club that made the decision not to let Mo travel to Inter. But before that, for the previous 3 games, there's a bit of denial that it was anything to do with the board, that was all the manager's decision making. No wonder we kept a clean sheet with 10 defenders. Talk about a low block. And also, let's be honest about it. That Inter Milan team has no legs. It doesn't. It's a very good technical team, but it's slow as fuck. And it was never going to get at us with lightning quick counter-attacks or pace. It just wasn't. And I think that needs to be brought up in this conversation again. Like, we played a team last night who looked like their best days were behind them when they were ripped apart by PSG in the final last year and made to look very lethargic. And that's kind of what we faced last night. It was a team that was never going to rip us apart in the wide areas, never going to rip us apart in transition. They were a good, technically well-coached team, but they were a slow team. Paul said Cara's an idiot. Behave yourself was so out of line, said Summat. Ben Tisney said, no, I'm with Cara. All these Salah FC have been so cocky, saying that Liverpool is nothing without Salah. But that's got nothing to do with Cara and Salah. Like, I'm the first one to say to you, the Salah FC fans are annoying as anything. And they're petty as fuck as well. So I agree with you on that one. But I just think, I don't know, I just think Cara's almost reveling in the attention of it too much. El Stew said, oh please, Liverpool or Inter don't get beat at home. Chat was saying we get hammered, we won. Come on. So again, El Stew, watch me before the game last night and watch me talk about Inter Milan. And I didn't back us to lose, did I? I backed a 1-1 draw. So, don't lump everybody in together. And yes, Inter hadn't been beaten at home. There's no denying that. That's a fact. You're right. But did they look good to you? Really, did they? And they were without players as well. So, let's not make out like this is a vintage Inter team. It's a shit league at the minute. Serie A, it just is. And Inter were bang average. And we should have probably handled them easier. That's my honest view on it. Look, you're just somebody else, Stu, who has no middle ground on this. You're blindly backing the club and slot. But you're not in any way even open to a different viewpoint on it. And it's a bit disappointing to see in the chat, mate, because there's nothing wrong with being supportive. But, do you think that was a good Inter Milan team there last night? Do you think they have a chance to go really win the Champions League this year? Because I thought they looked slow, cumbersome, one-paced. Right, let's see where we're at with this one. Right, so we've got 2,000 votes and 64%. 64% of people don't think that he'll play for Liverpool again after Brighton. I really don't know where I'm at with it. It feels like it's trending in the direction of him leaving. But, it is what it is. Let's wait and see. So, right, so I'm going to ask, just get a flavour of where people are at. Do you think Arne Slot can turn this around? Do you think he can turn it around? Sean said, you're absolutely right. Besides the win, the only bright side was that we played as a unit. Yeah, and it was a clever way to set up, but it was also probably the only way Arne could set up last night. It was the right system. It absolutely was. But he had no other way to set us up last night other than to be narrow and to be compact. And that worked, and fair play. And I gave everyone the credit in the player ratings. I gave the defence all the credit. They deserved it. But for me, the big difference in that game last night came when Bradley and Wirtz came off the bench. Then we started to look like we had a bit more about us. I thought they made a big, big positive difference in that game last night. Mike, how are you, Mike? Said, I feel like Cara went overboard with the criticisms, preferred Stevie G's response. Same. I thought Steven Gerrard was just so to the point, Mo's great. Mo's a talisman. Shouldn't have spoken about the manager publicly. He needs to sort that. I thought that was spot on. I really do. I thought Gerrard spoke very well about it. And, straight to the point. And that's kind of the right answer. Whatever way we feel about Mo or Arna, you do have to show some remorse when you speak out against the manager. Because the club are always going to back a manager in these scenarios. Even if the club have doubts on a manager, it's just the right thing to do. Because if you don't, what happens the next time and the next time and the next time? So I think Stevie G spoke to the point on it. It's finished at the Bernabeu. Wow. Let's wait and see then. Like, a lot of people in the chat saying, does this mean Alonso sacked? I don't know. But that wasn't something I was expecting, to be honest. I thought a draw in that game, but well done to Guardiola and his fellas. Pressure on. That, for me, like, that game there was the battle of the two clubs I despise, Madrid and Man City. So for me, it was kind of like watching two people I hate having a fight and not knowing which one I hate more or less. It's a big no. He can't. Slot not main player of the game. Craig, when you're losing, people rip each other apart. When you're winning, the problems are still there, but look better. Yeah. That's why I'm saying I need to see the Brighton game. Because after the Brighton game, we've got a week between games. So that gives the manager a lot more time to sit down and try to work more on this change. Because, for me, I want us to stick to this formation. Because I think we need to be getting Isak and Ekitike out there together and Wirtz in the hole behind. That's what I want to see going forward. But Isak, he needs to pull up his socks, because he looks way off it. Look, I know he's chasing fitness and stuff, but it's just simple things with him that haven't looked great. And we're all trying to give him breathing room, and rightly so. But he needs to give something back here as well. He needs to really start looking a lot more lively out there. What are the chances of us replacing Slot with Xabi if we lose this weekend? All I can say to you is this much I know, and I know from speaking with journalists and other channels. The club have started looking at alternatives. Now, I'm not saying they've made an offer. I'm not saying they're going to sack Slot, but they have been running the rule over some other coaches. I couldn't tell you with a clear conscience that I know one way or the other if Xabi got fired that would make a difference or not. I really don't know. But it would certainly be an interesting time, right? If he did get fired by Madrid. After that, I don't know. The club have made tentative looks at Fabregas, according to our friends at Anfield Index. Sebastian Hoeneß was a name that was mentioned previously. These are the type of things I couldn't tell you definitively that I know yes or no to. I really don't. I'm as intrigued by it all as you are. Salah and Isak never works. Salah doesn't pass enough, said Pep Dog. So, ironically, the system we played last night, I think, could help an ageing Mohamed Salah if he stays. Loads of us have had conversations over the last couple of years where we've talked about the ability of Mo to maybe play as a striker. And if he's playing as a 2 up there, I think that might work for everyone. If we have Kirkes and Bradley or Kirkes and Frimpong on either side, they have the engines to get up and down that and give us width from the full-back position. Then you've got your 2 centre-backs and you've got your number 6 dropping back in to make us a back 3. That could work. With Gomez last night, you'd seen him hold the high line and the width on the right. But Robertson was almost a bit more tentative on the left-hand side. So to counteract that, I think you need people with the engines of a Bradley, of a Frimpong, of a Kirkes to get up and down the flanks. And Robbo, I don't know if he has that in him twice a week, let's say. He would have, God, 3-4 years ago, you'd have put Robbo right in that mix. So I like this formation. And I think then if you continue to play this 4-4-2 diamond or a 4-1-2-1-2, it may transition in the summer then to a back three if we get the personnel. Craig, it's absolutely Slot's plan to play 3-5-2 but need centre backs. Look, I said when we did our business in the summer, I think the personnel is there if you get the centre backs. El Stew said, called me out a bit there, mate. My genuine opinion is that will come good. I didn't call you out. I said you have been very, not aggressive, that's not a fair word. You've been very vociferous in denying other people's views and very strong that Slot's going to turn it all around. And I said to you that I think you're being too dismissive of other people's opinions. So if that's calling you out, then fair enough. But you've been more aggressive and more dismissive of people in the chat than I've ever been of you, mate. And I've been observing it. And, I'm not shouting, I'm not cursing, I'm just being honest. I don't think that Inter Milan team are great. And, you said they're unbeaten at home, which I said to you is a fact. But they're not great. And, I never felt in danger last night at all. Outside of that good save Ali made from Lautaro Martinez, I thought we handled the situation well, and they were very negative and very petty as well, mate. They're rolling around so much, it was like watching Atleti all over again. But look, whatever way we look at it, Stu, you and I and everyone wants the best for the club. So, if we all disagree, sometimes we just have to accept that others have a different view. But you're a gentleman. I'll say that. You are an absolute gent, and you've never crossed the line one bit. No Like Eli said, Inter gave us far too much respect. They barely provided a threat to Ali. I don't even know if it was respect or the fact that they're just not that good anymore. They really are a very one-paced side. They were never going to catch us on the counter run last night. They just don't have the pace to do it, especially with no Dumfries. That Cherky is some player. Wow, ran the show today. Really? In the first half that I watched, he was anonymous. Genuinely. So he must have done something in the second half, because what I watched, I didn't see it. And he's not a patch on Florian Wirtz. Not a patch. But like I said, I didn't see the second half, so. All good, Stu, my man. All good. You've got a good heart, sir, and you're somebody who I hold in high esteem. We won't all have to agree, bro. It's all good. All good. Right. Let's get to some more of the stories. So, Caught Offside have said, exclusive, Liverpool have agreed terms with Antoine Semenyo. They've matched Man City's offer, reports Indy Kayla. Now, the piece goes on to talk about Manchester City as well, Manchester United as well in the mix. And there's been a few claims made that Liverpool are ready to trigger the release clause and that Semenyo has decided on Liverpool. I don't have that information. That he's made a decision, but he is 100% somebody we are looking at. That's crystal clear. But I don't know where these bits of info are coming from. So I hope they're right. I missed your first super chat, Eno. Apologies, sir. Give me 2 seconds, I'll find it. Yeah, sorry, Ian. That's my bad, sir. Craig, what do you think Xabi Alonso is manager and Stevie G is assistant manager and Torres is the striker coach, Aguirre is the defensive coach? I think there's a little bit too many cooks in there. I actually floated the idea the other day of Alonso with Gerrard as his assistant, because I think that could give that could give Gerrard a way back into football if it goes well for Alonso, if you get me, to a decent job. So yeah, I'd be all for it. The Alonso thing and the Agger thing, I think Alonso probably he wants to make his own way in management, and I'm not sure where Agger's at all. But yeah, definitely. Look, I love the idea of former players, especially if you imagine in that dressing room, where you've got Gerrard and Alonso standing there. You're not giving a Billy Big Bollocks in there to those lads. You're not talking about how great you are when there's two of the greatest lads to ever do it standing there in front of you, dishing out the orders. So yeah, that'd be amazing. But how realistic it is, I don't know, mate. And sorry again, Ian, for missing the first one, mate. That's apologies on that. Agger's an assistant manager in the Danish national team. Oh, genuinely didn't know that. Cool. Good to see he's still in football, because clear how passionate Agger always was about our club and about football. So, yeah, I did know that, mate. Thank you for letting me know. That's class. Glad to hear he's still in the game. Sandra said, Slots bench Salah because they don't like each other. Isn't that really weird, though, Sandra? Because do you remember when he signed this extension? There was nothing but good words from him and his agent about Slot. And Rami Abbasisa even posted publicly to say, fantastic manager. Mo said, the manager listens to me. So it is all gone a little bit dark. And I can't help but feel Slot's getting the grief when there's probably a bit more to it than just Slot. Where was I at? I've done that one and apologies again. I would fancy an Alonso Wirtz reunion. Oh yeah. Look, some people just have no desire for Alonso whatsoever, and I respect that we all don't see it the same, but I'd take Alonso. Especially if we are going to move to a system that Wirtz would be more used to. If we brought in the centre backs, I'd absolutely take a system where Xabi Alonso's there, because like you said, absolutely get the best out of Wirtz. I've no doubt he'd fill the boys up top full of confidence as well. But that's just a personal preference. Others, and we'll run a poll on it in a minute. We'll ask if people would take Alonso or not. Arsenal and Real aren't slow and old. I never said that they were, Claude. Never once, mate. I don't know what point you're trying to make. I'm not saying we only won a game because they're slow. I'm saying I didn't have a fear last night that we were going to be countered, mate, by that Inter Milan team. We put in a very good solid shift against Arsenal, won thanks to a brilliant free kick from Dom. And Real Madrid are just not great. They're just a team of individuals. And, that played out again tonight as they were beaten by Manchester City at their own gaff. They're beaten by Celta Vigo at their own gaff. This Real Madrid team aren't brilliant. But, I don't know what point you're trying to make. There's another one of those cases where I say something and somebody else takes offence to it in a different way that's nothing to do with what I spoke about. I never once said we only win games when a team is old or slow. Don't want Alonso. De Zerbi is closest to Klopp. I don't want De Zerbi anywhere near our club. Not for a second. Anybody that puts Mason Greenwood in his team can fuck off, in my opinion. And I don't care. I'm really strong on that opinion. Anyone who gives that little toe rag the time of day, I don't want near our football club. Not a chance. And look at how De Zerbi's relationships have ended at some of his clubs as well. Nowhere. Not for me anyway. But I do get where you're coming from a coaching perspective. Very good style of football to watch. I'll give you that, no doubt. Just not for me. Right. Thank you for your 9-month membership, by the way. Silla Trackett. I hope I've pronounced that one somewhat correctly. I'm glad Slot has experimented with new formations and isn't afraid to bench Salah. Things could be better. It's time to stay united as fans. Yeah, I would agree with that. we all want to be behind the lads on the team, absolutely, and hopefully this is the start of a proper rebuilding here for us. But it's only one game. So Xabi Alonso storms down the tunnel when the whistle blows. His time is up, said Indy Kayla. It'll be interesting to see how this. I'm intrigued more to see if Alonso does get fired. I'm intrigued to see how the media react to it and what's written, and is there links to Liverpool. Tiger Rich said Semenyo seems like he's focused and not one of those pretty boys. Look, Semenyo comes across as a very humble, classy guy. I know people who've spent time with Antoine Semenyo and speak very highly of him. And I think the way he dealt with that arsehole who was racially abusing him at Anfield, I thought that showed tremendous dignity and class. And of course, he's a very good footballer on top. Tipperary said there's a lack of good number sixes in England and Europe at the minute. When you're talking about Anderson being worth maybe 100 million quid, yeah, it feels a bit over the top. But the way the game is evolving again to a more physical one, I think number six is going to come back in fashion or in vogue. Look, we definitely need one. We do need a number six. Anybody concerned with McAllister and why he hasn't been anywhere near his levels this season? It's really concerning to me and Connor as well. How far off he's been. Alonso about to be free after tonight, as per Marca. Yeah, there was a lot of reports before. I read a Dario AS one that said he was going to get till the Super Coppa in January, but I do feel he's going to be fired. I don't think he should be, but I think he will be, and it's sending out the wrong message once again. It's shown that Madrid are bound down to player power. Do you think Zubamendi has been okay at Arsenal or poor? And do you think we dodged the bullet? So, hand on heart, I haven't watched much of Arsenal outside of us playing them. Zubamendi is one of those players who you might not notice a lot of the time in a game, but is impactful. So, look, I think Martin Zubamendi is a very good footballer. And I think Arsenal have got themselves a really good midfielder. But, others will have to talk about whether he's done well since he's gone there or not. I just genuinely think he's a good player. Ian said, imagine Alonso comes in and wins us the treble. Let's wait and see. So, once we get to 2,000 votes, we'll run a vote on the Xabi Alonso situation. But right now we have, do you think Arne Slot can turn this around? So tomorrow, you're going to see Anfield Agenda socials posting about Big Up, which is the new platform we're going to be working with. And we're going to be running a game every week that they run, where it's basically fantasy football, yes or no, is the way I describe it. So you'll have the opportunity to go in, buy big bucks, which is basically $5 for 100 big bucks. And then there are 10 questions for every game. Yes, no. Will Salah have a shot on target? Will Liverpool win? And these things. And you can pick between 2 and 6 of those. And there's 2 different versions of the game. We'll explain it all to you tomorrow. If you've seen it on Big Up already, brilliant. But we're going to be giving you the opportunity to add a bit more fun to the match days here on Anfield Agenda and win a few quid as well. Hopefully win a few quid along the way. So I'll be doing my predictions every week for it. We've been talking with them for months now behind the scenes to get this one ready. And we're going to be launching it this weekend for the game against Brighton. So, yeah, I'm excited by it. As I said, we'll reveal more. But do keep an eye on the Anfield Agenda socials over the next few days because you will see more information about the product. It will be open to everybody in the UK, Spain, Ireland, and the United States of America. is Big Up free to watch. We will be streaming from YouTube still as well. We'll be dual streaming across both platforms. And some of the cool aspects that we'll be able to do on Big Up is we'll be able to use tactics boards and move stuff around and show you different bits and pieces. But ultimately, all of our content's still on YouTube. We're not moving platforms. Everything's on YouTube. We're just going to complement our match day experience with some of the fantasy aspects on Big Up. Will big books be available in the States? Yes, 100%. They have the license for the United States. They have the license for the UK and Ireland, Spain, and other territories are being added every day. You can download the app from the iOS store. You can go to the website. How much would Saudi pay for Mo in January? It's a really, really good question. Yeah, we talked about this last night a little bit. Hard to know. Is it 18s plus? Yes, it is 18s plus. Yeah, it's hard to know what the value would be because it's a very unique situation, isn't it? Look, I'm a Liverpool fan. Obviously, I'd want us to get as much money as possible. But what is realistic is a tough one to ask. Yeah, I really don't know. Like, I wouldn't be a fan of Liverpool, just tearing up his contract and saying they save money on it. Anywhere north of 50, 60, and I think we're in acceptable territory. But it also depends on what Liverpool have to pay out on the contract. What now, Craig? I don't know what that's in relation to. If it's about Big Up, as I said, all will be explained over the next few days. If it's about anything else, sorry, I haven't got a clue what we're talking about. I think 40, 50 million, said Carl Morgan. Crimbo said 60 million. What's the retirement plan for you? Make content till you're 65 or cash out at some stage? This is weird, by the way, because this question's come up a bit lately. It's never really been asked of me before. What's the plan? Let me come back to that in a minute. Let me just go through this and I'll come back to your question. They're willing to spend 90 million on Bruno Fernandes in the summer. Look, I want Liverpool to get as much as possible. If Liverpool could get 100 million, brill. And honestly, my first preference would be to find a way to keep Mo. It would. I don't want Mo to leave Liverpool, but I do think he has to apologise. And I think there is a way, if egos are dropped, that could work. And I think in the system we played last night, that would actually suit Mo to be one of the two as a striker. But if it can't work, and it does look like this is trending towards a sale, I want Liverpool to get as much as possible. So we asked, do you think Arne Slot can turn it around? It's close, so if you haven't voted yet, please do. We need about 200 more votes, and then we'll call it. We'll call it on that one. It's close-ish at the minute. We're about 200 away from 2,000. So if you haven't voted, please do. Chris Palmer said, if you want us to lose because you've said you want the manager should be sacked, you're more of a fan of being right. Again, Chris, I don't know if that's aimed at me or somebody else in the chat, but you've never, ever, ever heard me say I want Liverpool to lose. Even when people have super chatted me saying, Craig, I want us to lose this game so Arne loses his job, I've pulled him up on every single one of those and said, I will never want this football club to lose. I don't care about being right or wrong. I want us to go in the right direction and win games of football. My own opinion is just that, an opinion. And I would much rather be wrong about the manager because it means we go in the right direction. But so far, I'm still in the I'm not convinced camp. If Liverpool did get rid of Slot, what about Emery at Villa? I like Unai Emery. I have the height of respect for him as a coach. Yeah, I've nothing. But again, he's employed by another club, so we got to be respectful of that one as well. What's this one? So, Fabrizio Romano posted a quote from Rodrigo Goes that said, "We are with Xabi Alonso. We stand with him. Many things are being said, but are all lies." They might want to start playing like they're with their manager then. Because, how does a team that has Bellingham, Rodrigo, Mbappe, Vinny Jr., Tchouameni, Trent, how's that team losing games at home to the likes of Celta Vigo? So again, Rodrigo and others can talk, but they're not showing that they're playing for the manager. JT14 said, Craig, at Salah's age, value anything about 75 million for him is a must sell. End of the day, it's a business too. We did something similar with Diaz. Yeah, it's a really unique situation, this one, isn't it? Because, there's not many times where you'll see a player of 33 years of age potentially being sold for big money. So it's a very unique situation, which is why I'm so unsure of what to expect valuation-wise. I think Emery is a coach, but I hate what he's done with Harvey. But, to be fair, Christina, the Villa fan that was in our chat a few weeks ago did say that Emery never wanted him. And if Emery was very clear all along that he didn't want him and Sancho, but the sporting director brought them in anyway, then I can understand Emery not playing him. But if Emery said he would welcome him in and hasn't played him, that's a different conversation. But, the Villa fan would have more information on Villa than I would. And if what they said is true, it makes some sense why he's been frozen out by Emery. There was 100% improvement tonight, Craig. Most of Madrid's players were at least trying. I'd only question Vinny Jr. Look, as I said, I watched the first half and they did put in a bit of a shift. But look, I think Madrid's biggest problem has always been and is player power and ego. And what we haven't seen, though, is any public denial of the sacking stuff. But you are right. They certainly did better tonight. But it's the Champions League. That's when that club comes alive. So better still wasn't enough against a decent Man City side. And look, they didn't have Mbappe in the start either. But look, Vinny Jr. is a disgrace. I've nothing else to say in it. He's an absolute fucking disgrace. A diva and a disgrace. He's just so lazy in his defensive style. Just so bad. And even attack-wise, I watched the first half of that, and so many times he was making the wrong decisions in the final third in possession as well. Right, we only need 40 more votes, and then we'll get to the coaches. Right, you guys give me 4 coaches that you want me to put in as a potential, or do you want me to just go with the Alonso question? So the question we have at the minute is, do you think Arne Slot can turn this around? It's close. We only need 30 more votes now to finish it up. Billy Backner said, 100% Craig, Vinny Jr. has the potential to be one of the best, if not the best winger talent-wise, but his ego mentality will always haunt him. Definitely. And they're the type of footballers that absolutely wind me up. And Neymar was another one, where they have all the talent in the world. All of it. Incredible footballers. Vinny Jr. and Neymar. But there was just too much divaness and too much stardom above hard work. And that's why I could never take to either of those players. I hate when I look at a footballer and I think they left something on the table. I think Wayne Rooney is another one. Wayne Rooney had a great career, but I don't think it was the best career he could have had if he had have lived a bit more of a professional lifestyle. Craig, who do you rate as our worst ever signing? Well, look, it's El Hadji Diouf for me. because of how vitriolic he's been about the club and how shit he was, and the fact that we signed him and we didn't make the Anelka loan permanent. That I'll never understand that, why we didn't make that Nicholas Anelka move permanent. So we asked, do you think Arne can turn this around? 57% said no, 43% said yes. So yeah, you can see there kind of divide. Right, so let's have a look at some of your lists. Squirrel Face said, what do you think about Gerrard taking control till the end of the season? I'd be open to that. Excuse me. I'd be open to that, but I don't want him getting a job. And I mean, even if he comes in and wins the Champions League, I don't want him getting a job, because I just don't think he's ready yet to be the Liverpool manager. But in a short-term basis, absolutely. Do I have a pension? Yes, I do. Actually, I haven't taken out. Oh, I did promise I'd get back to that lad's question. Yeah, I do have a pension. We only start about 6 months ago, maybe something like that. So you asked me, and I promise you I'll come back to it. What is my play with the channel in the end? I think right now every option is on the table for us. Like, will I be doing content till I'm 65? I think you asked. No, I can't. I don't think my health will allow it the way I do this, because it's very all-encompassing for me. You know, I live this. This is it. In and out 24/7. This is my life. Reading about it, doing about it, thinking about it. So what would be my dream scenario? Somebody to come in and buy the channel off us, want me to stay involved in it for 3 to 5 years, and then pivot into a different style of content and maybe a more podcast-centric world. I don't think I'll ever hand the channel over to another presenter and just step to the background, because I just don't think anybody will ever care as much as I do and Connor does. So yeah, I really don't know. Like there's always a number that we'd sell the channel for, but in an ideal world, I'd stay on for a few years with that. But if somebody wanted to just buy the channel and me to just leave straight away, that number's bigger. That number would be bigger. Could Connor take over? No, I don't think he could. Not doing what I do. I don't think Connor has enough free time to do what I do. Because he's younger, you know, he's got more of his life to live. And we're very different personalities. Would I take 500k? I wouldn't my whole. No, mate. Look, the channel's worth multiples of 500k. No, I wouldn't take 500k. The channel is probably worth 1.2 to 1.5 million euro. Yeah, that would be roughly our valuation on it. For me to walk away, I'd probably need closer to 2. And yeah, 2 would set me and Connor up nicely, and we could both pivot into the sunset and do something else. But yeah, look, we're equal owners of the company. You know, we own a 50-50. I made that promise to Connor when we started this project together, that there never would be a time where, even though I'm front and centre of it, that I try to fuck him out or fuck him over. And I was a man of my word. When we went down and we formed the company and we issued the shares, we issued it straight down the middle, as I always promised, because we came into this together, and he's my brother in this, and I'd never fuck him over, ever. And, you know, he deserves every damn penny, and every percentage, because he's incredible, and a very, very good, intelligent young man. Would you ever do content like rate my takeaways? Yeah, it's look, I have a project I want to do that is involving food, but it's got a unique slant on it. But I don't have the time to do that yet. But someday. What values a YouTube channel? Revenue. Simple. Revenue. You know, a YouTube channel is a very unique thing because there's no real physical assets that go along with it. You are buying social media reach, turnover, and influence, and goodwill, as with any business. So, yeah, it's multiples of turnover is usually how these things are valued. But why would anyone buy the channel if you are the channel? It just wouldn't be as successful. It isn't as important if the brand is around individual personalities. And that is a huge setback of this situation as well, because you are right. Like, I've never said I'm the channel, by the way, but, you know, I don't think the United stand prospers without Goldbridge, because, you know, the channel's built on his back, and other talent is around him as well, designers and everybody else. But, you know, YouTube is a very unique thing. People buy into your journey and your story, which is why I said if I did sell it, because look, full cards on the table. We've had offers to buy the channel, and we've had offers to buy into the channel. And every single offer that's come in, bar one, had wanted me to stay on for the reason you've said. And I'd be happy to do that. But I don't know. Like I said, I love doing what I do. And I don't think I've got any plans to hang up tomorrow. Like, I see myself doing this for, I'd say I've got 5 more years in me. And I'm also absolutely sound if in 5 years and I decide it's time to say goodbye, that we just delete the channel. Like, I don't have a mindset that we have to make money from the channel if we sell it. I don't at all, because I haven't thought that far ahead. My only aim since this channel started is to buy our house. That was my dream from day one, and 8 years in, we're close to that. And if I can get the mortgage and buy this house, and I don't mean buy it outright, I mean buy it with a mortgage like anybody else, then whatever else happens, I will. I mean, this is going to get a bit dark, so bear with me. So I'm 44. No generation of my immediate lineage has lived past 45. My father died at 45. My grandfather died at 37 or 38. And his father died very young. So the last few years for me have been about trying to put things in place for my wife and kids, just in case. So the pension, they're trying to buy the house. It's all done to make sure if the worst does happen to me, that my family are okay. And that's where my head's at now. And that's why I work so hard. And that's why I've had this dream. It's terrifying to think that my father and my grandfather both didn't live past 45. And that weighs heavy on me at the minute. So, like I said, people ask, do I have plans for 65? I don't even know if I see 65. I hope I do. So I don't make plans that far ahead. It's too scary. So that's, one day at a time. But I've already won, because I've already done more than I ever thought possible. And that's that's the truth. Right, anyway. Poll time. So we'll start with just the Alonso one first. Right, so would you take Alonso if he's sacked by Madrid? Right, I have a super chat from Nick I have to get to. With hindsight, Salah knew he'd get a reaction from Cara. That's why he name checked him. He's purposely choosing the exit door whilst framing it as an FSG/manager issue, whilst on course to line his pockets more. Excuse me. I agree on the first part, definitely. You know, we name checked Cara for a reason because he expected a response, Nick. Absolutely with you on that one. I'm not sure on the second part because I do think deep down it may be what both parties in here want. Maybe Salah does want a fresh chapter, but I'd like to think that Salah wants to stay and fight for his place, you know, and prove that he's not finished because, you know, that was what the plan was, to give him the new deal. So I'd like to think that Salah sits down, talks to the club, figures it out, goes to the AFCON, everybody gets a breathing space, and then he comes back and hopefully we go again. But, you know, you could be right, Nick. But I hate the battle for hearts and minds publicly stuff. It's not befitting of the club. Much love, brother. Manifesting more success in 2026. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Many times I listen to hear you talk, Craig. Liverpool is extra to me. Same stuff is hitting me now. I feel like I've 10 left. My dad left at 54. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about your dad as well, mate. But yeah, Jesus, when I hit 40, the fear hit me like a ton of bricks. Like a fucking ton of bricks. It's a weird headspace, isn't it? To be at, like, not like, will you see 65, 70? I certainly hope I do, but tomorrow's never promised to any of us, is it? You know, so I genuinely, it's cringy as it sounds, try to take every day as a win because, you know, I'm here and that's a good thing. Right. Alonso will know how to get the best of the Wirtz and Frimpong, said Jeff. Salah knows the score. He has a plan/method to his madness, says Mark Reeves. Craig, no one in my family on the male side lived past 66. My dad was the first to break that. He was 67. My younger brother is now 79 and my eldest brother's 84. You can never tell. Yeah, definitely. Look, one thing that I cling on to is that, you know, my father and my grandfather's demise, and I can't speak for the generation before, was unfortunately through alcohol. And I don't drink. Or at least I drink very infrequently. I might drink once a year. So I'm hoping that gives me a bit of longevity. But like I said, you know, I'd be a liar if I told you I'm not petrified every fucking day that my time's coming up. But that's why I'm so focused as well on what I'm doing to make sure I can, you know, leave if it does happen. My missus in a decent position. John, with the utmost respect, shouldn't you concentrate on your health more if you're worried about dying young? Not judging, I'm a health professional. So, what you're saying is I'm fat, right? Which is fair enough. But I don't drink, I don't smoke tobacco. I pretty much live a decently clean life. And now I am fat, yes, but I had an incredibly active and fit lifestyle most of my life. And I lost 103 pound when I was 30 and kept it off, and COVID kicked in and I piled weight back on. But I do live a healthy enough life, mate, apart from being overweight. An overweight thing is partly in my genes and it's partly to bad habits of eating, granted. But yeah, like I said, I do get regular blood tests. My cholesterol's healthy, perfect. My blood pressure's perfect. Yeah, no disrespect taken from your post. I get where you're coming from. Bree Morgan, thank you, man. Appreciate you. Right, let's keep going. Some more news. So, uh, if you watched my video earlier on, you'll know about this crazy post that I just can't get my head around. So it's a post from somebody, and I don't even want to name the person, but the post basically says, Salah says someone doesn't want him at the club. Will any of our intrepid sports journalists dare to investigate who he meant? And then he said, here's a clue. The co-owner of Liverpool, Tom Werner, is on record as wanting the club to play in Israel, and Salah would undoubtedly refuse. I mean, that feels like a very big stretch. Chloe said, very morbid tonight. Jesus. Yeah, sorry. You know, I'm answering questions that people are asking me about my future. I didn't come in to be morbid, Chloe, but, you know, this has never just been a football channel. So apologies if it was a bit morbid, but, you know, it is what it is. So yeah, that feels like a fucking leap to me to try and think that Tom Werner wants him out from some kind of religious divide. I think that's tinfoil hat stuff, to be honest with you, because, you know, Tom Werner is the man that brought Salah to the club with FSG and has extended Salah with FSG, you know, year on year. It's yeah, that feels incredibly mad. And on the weight loss thing, John, I'm cleared to start taking Wegovy, but the only reason I haven't started taking it yet is because I'm still getting over the nerve damage in my shoulder, and I don't want to throw in more medication at the minute. So I'm waiting until I are clear of anti-inflammatories and stuff before I start the Wegovy. So fingers crossed the weight loss comes in the near future. Indy Kayla said, exclusive, secret high-stakes meeting ends without a sorry from Mohamed Salah. Arne Slot to hold emergency meeting with Mo Salah tomorrow was the post before, and then they said that meeting happened but with no sorry. I don't know. Curtis Jones. So I'm so glad that this post came up, by the way, because I still am baffled. Like, I read the Echo comment section and a few other comment sections all the time, and the agenda against Curtis Jones is absolutely outstanding at this point. It doesn't matter what he does. Some people just will not give him an ounce of credit. And I was one of his big detractors for many years. But if you don't think Curtis Jones has made a difference recently or is working his ass off, I don't know what to say to you. But here's some data. So 96.67%. No midfielder has a higher progressive pass accuracy than Curtis Jones in the top 5 leagues in Europe. And there are people saying he's a backwards and sideways merchant. I don't know what they're looking at. He's in the 100th percentile for forward pass percentages. He's in the 99th percentile for forward passes. The 96th percentile for progressive carries. The 96th percentile for progressive passes. And the 83rd percentile for duels won. He has been really good lately and really positive. And he never hides on the pitch. I don't get the mad agenda some people have against Jones. And these would be the same people that will come on and say to me, but you said this 2 weeks ago. And I'd say, yes, but opinions are fluid. You know, you got to give the man his flowers when he deserves them. And Curtis Jones has been fighting hard. And, you know, he is always forward thinking. You know, he takes too long out of the ball sometimes, yes. But under Arne, I think he's come on leaps and bounds. Elmir said towards the mortgage fund, look after yourself and your health. I really want to start 2026 getting fitter myself. Not morbid for me, you're the real one. Yeah, look, we could all probably do with dropping a few pounds if we're a little, you know, in middle age especially, but I don't know, you know, life's got to have some fun in it as well. You're not getting Semenyo Well, if you would care about him that much, Sophie, at least try to spell his name correctly for the player that you're so adamant we're not getting. By the way, Craig, do you smoke or have you ever? Because Lee does. Weed, yes. Cigarettes, no. I did until I was 30. I used to smoke about 30 a day. But myself and my wife both gave them up when we were 30. And I haven't touched tobacco since. Done that one. Why can't the club see what the fans see? I think they can. Like, we had a conversation the other day that it feels like the Salah situation is almost inadvertently bought slot more time. Yeah, I think it has. Because now the club more than ever have to double down on their support of the manager. No, Craig means awful Sky Sports commentary. Like I said, I've no plans to stop. I was asked the question. I always answer any questions honestly. And yeah, I answered it honestly. I got to it eventually, Johnny. I got to it eventually, mate. No, Eli said I changed my opinion on Jones after he stood up for the club and supporters versus Everton. Since then, I refuse to criticise him unless it's Ebu level stuff. Dave Sharple said I've lost over 8 stone in the last few years. That's incredible, Dave. Well in. That's incredible. Well done to you. It's great. And it's doable. Like I said, I've lost 102, 103 pound myself in the past. But yeah, well done you. Is it true that Carrot is banned from Liverpool games? I've no information to say that. Again, that just means I have no information to say that. I very much doubt that somebody that's working for a broadcaster that's covering Liverpool would be banned, especially as a former ex-player. I can't see any world where that's the case. But let's wait and see. Curtis is the glue that brings people together. He seems so welcoming. The scouts of the team. He's been working incredibly hard for the team lately, and it's great to see. And as somebody said, he really stood up against Everton as well. Asif said I watch you every day on YouTube. Thank you, man. That means a lot. Appreciate your support. Had about a picture of you before your fantastic weight loss. Do you know, I don't really have any. Yeah, I'll show you the weight loss, but I don't really have any before. I kind of got rid of them. I don't even have a wedding photo up in my house, believe it or not, because I don't want to look at myself. Where is it? I think I've showed you guys this picture before. Where are you? Scrolling. Where is it? Every time I scroll through all these photos, just like reliving there it is, half my life. Right, one sec. This never fits, so it'll take me a minute to drag it in. Oh, there you go. So that's me after the weight loss at 30 years of age, in the green, obviously, as the goalkeeper. So yeah, that was me when I'd lost 103 pound. So yeah, that's what I'd look like after the weight loss. So yeah, I'm in the green, obviously. That was a reunion game for a team. We got back together for a game. We hadn't seen each other for about 10 years, so we got back together and had a reunion match. Great show, Craig. Big respect. You're honest and talk about normal things and things that affect us. Respect, big man. Thank you. Yeah, it's important, man. It's important. Because without the ability to do that talking, I wouldn't be here. So, Jurgen Klopp said this about Mohamed Salah. That moment lifting the Premier League bonded us for life. He'll be remembered as one of the greats of all time. I wouldn't say he's easy to manage, but he's also not difficult to manage. You only have problems with Mo if he's not playing or you take him off. Mike McGrath reported that Mohamed Salah has several Saudi Arabian clubs looking to make official bids next month and are ready to do whatever it takes to sign the forward. They're willing to look at a loan or permanent moves. Surely it makes no sense for Liverpool to even consider a loan. Like, that makes no sense. How true are the reports that Salah has not apologised? So, I can't sit here and tell you that I know he has or hasn't. So the answer is I can't. I can't. I can't commit to either side. I don't know. I don't know if he has or hasn't, but he has to. You know, there's. I can't see a way that there's any way of solving this without an apology. I really can't. 60s Red said, I don't want any rash manager decisions, hence Johnny and Gerrard assistance for this season. Curtis' first touch used to let him down, but since then he's tidied up. It's been very good, said Paul Hegarty. A few of your teammates lead to lose a few. Remember, that was after 10 years of us not playing together, you know. That was just us getting back together for, just for a reunion night. You know, it was lovely to see everybody again. Unfortunately, everybody in that picture is no longer, you know, not everybody in that picture is still alive, which is the really sad, tragic part of it. Yeah, there's been a couple of people taking their own lives, unfortunately. Which is why I'm so, you know, between that and my mother committing suicide, I'm so vocal about speaking out about your feelings, because, you know, you never know, man. You never know. You never know. Like, some of the people that I've known that have committed suicide have been the most upbeat, positive, life of the party people. If you could sign one player in January, who would it be? Mark A. Yeah, without a doubt. You know, I'm trying to be realistic as well. Mark, we need a centre back, DM, and an attacker. It used to be centre back, attacker, and DM for me, but I really do think DM is becoming a more pressing concern. David Lewis said, big call out to Canale last night. He played his socks off. Yeah, absolutely. And the manager was right to give the defence some credit last night. You know, and it was great. If we can keep a clean sheet, you know, you're never going to be too far away in a game of football if you can keep a clean sheet. So that's why I was saying I'm so proud for this. Like, tonight, I went down and met. I met the group of kids that we sponsored the shirts for, and they presented me with a shirt, which I'm so proud of, and I'm going to get framed and hang in the office. But I was so happy to be down there and with them that we also told them we're going to sponsor another age group, another set of kits after Christmas, because, you know, I can't speak highly enough about coaches and football clubs and local communities. Like, you know, it's giving kids an outlet, and it's more than sport, and it was always more than sport for me as well. So that's why I'm so proud to be the front of our community and be able to, you know, along with Connor, to do these type of things, and to have my son down there with me as well. I'm going to show you a picture of my son, which I don't usually do, but I want to show you my little dude. Sec. Yeah, so there's my little man, modeling the shirt. And it was cool because so many of the kids that were down there in his school, and they all knew him, and it was just lovely. It was a lovely moment. Yeah, and that's a little Anfield agenda. Do you think we can win the Champions League after the January transfer window? Look, I think the Champions League's wide open this season. I don't see any real, like Arsenal are doing very well and should be talked about as a real contender. But we've seen in seasons gone past, if you can put together a run at the right time and you can, get through the December, January busy period without too many injuries, it's possible. So if we click, we're as good as anyone and we can take on anyone. So we're in with a chance. Do I sponsor my old team? No. This is a local team down here in the area I live. I grew up in Dublin and I live in Wexford now. So there was Courtown Hibs was the club. You'll grow into it. No, that jersey's not for him to wear. That jersey's going in a frame and it's going in our office. I just got him to put it on so I can see my son in a footy shirt. Kush said you're such a genuine down-to-earth man. There's no reason not to be, bro. I'm just a working class lad that talks about football a bit. There's nothing special about me. That's why I don't get any egos in our industry. We're all lucky. We get to talk about football with amazing people every night. But I'm nothing special. I'm just a normal fella. Got a bit lucky. Always rated Jones, but recently he's been inconsistent. Stepped up this season when he's needed to. Thank you. Thank you, John. Appreciate your input. It's something Dad say, isn't it? Oh, it's not just something we say, Ollie. I'll be the first one to tell you, dude. When I'm buying my kids stuff and they're still growing, absolutely you're growing into it. Yeah, especially with the way kids go through trainers and their feet grow. Yeah, 100%, every school jumper is a little bit too big. Every shirt's a little bit too big. So you can get a bit out of it, definitely. And God, the amount of hand-me-downs I got growing up as well from older cousins and stuff like that. Yeah, it's mad. Right, so we'd asked, would you take Alonso if he was sacked by Madrid? And 78% said yes, you would take him, which is very interesting. So, folks, tomorrow, what have we got tomorrow? Thursday. Where are we recording? No, we're not recording till Monday. So yeah, I'll be here tomorrow. Sorry, I was just trying to figure out what was happening tomorrow. I'm recording the preview, which will be out tomorrow night for the Brighton game. Connor will be here with a video in the morning. I'll be here with a video late evening. And then I'll see you here tomorrow night at 8:45 for the late night agenda. I know sometimes their chats can go away from football and stuff like that. And it might not be for everybody. But it helps me a lot. So I hope you can stick with us in those moments. But thank you for dropping in again. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. But hopefully a bit more news. Until then.